10 years can change a life, but sometimes one moment is enough to bring everything back. Charlotte Bennett stood outside the towering glass building of Williams International with two children holding her hands and a past she had carried silently for a decade. The city moved around her as if nothing unusual was happening. Cars passed. People rushed along the sidewalks. Business executives walked through the entrance carrying briefcases and speaking about meetings. But for Charlotte, every step toward those doors felt like walking toward a chapter she thought she had closed forever. Mia and Lucas, her 10-year-old twins, looked up at her with curious expressions. They did not fully understand why their mother seemed nervous. To them, this was simply another day, another place, another person they were about to meet. Charlotte gently squeezed their hands. "Stay close, okay?" she whispered. Lucas nodded. Mia smiled. They trusted her completely. That trust was the reason she had spent 10 years making difficult choices. 10 years ago, Charlotte Bennett believed leaving Ethan Williams was the only way to protect the person she loved. She remembered the young man he was before the billionaire title, before the luxury office, before his name appeared in business magazines. Ethan had been ambitious, determined, and convinced that success was the only way to secure their future. But life changed faster than either of them expected. A misunderstanding became distance. Distance became silence. And eventually, Charlotte walked away carrying a secret she never planned to keep forever. Now, she stood in front of the company he built, knowing there was no way to hide anymore. Inside the building, Ethan Williams was preparing for another important meeting. At 42 years old, he was one of the most successful CEOs in the country. His company was worth billions. His schedule was filled with investors, negotiations, and decisions that affected thousands of employees. To the world, Ethan had everything: success, wealth, influence. But nobody saw the quiet moments after the office emptied. Nobody saw the old photograph hidden inside his desk drawer. A photograph of a woman he once loved and never completely forgot. His assistant placed several documents on his desk. "The board meeting starts in 20 minutes, Mr. Williams." Ethan nodded without looking away from the city view. "Thank you." Then his phone rang. It was the security desk downstairs. "Mr. Williams, there is someone here asking to see you." Ethan frowned slightly. "Who?" A pause followed. "A woman named Charlotte Bennett." The room suddenly felt different. The name he had not heard in 10 years felt like a door opening to a past he thought was gone. Ethan stood slowly. For a moment, he forgot about the meeting. He forgot about the documents. He forgot about everything except one name: Charlotte. When the elevator doors opened on the lobby floor, Ethan saw her standing near the entrance. Time seemed to slow. She looked older, but the kindness in her eyes was the same. Then he noticed the two children beside her, two children with familiar expressions, two children who looked at him with the same quiet curiosity he once saw in the woman standing before him. Ethan froze. Charlotte watched his reaction carefully. She knew this moment would change everything. "Ethan," she said softly. His eyes moved between her and the twins. 1,000 questions appeared, but only one escaped his lips. "Who are they?" Charlotte took a slow breath. She had imagined this moment many times. She had prepared explanations. She had prepared answers. But standing in front of him after 10 years, none of the words felt enough. Finally, she looked at the children and then back at the man who had once meant everything to her. "They are your children." The noise of the busy lobby disappeared. Ethan Williams, the man who could negotiate billion-dollar deals without hesitation, stood completely still. Because in that moment, he realized there was a part of his own life he never knew existed. And standing in front of him were two children who carried 10 years of memories he had missed. For several seconds, Ethan Williams could not move. The lobby of Williams International continued around him, but the world he knew felt completely different. Employees walked past carrying their usual schedules. Phones rang. Conversations continued. Yet all Ethan could hear was the single sentence that changed everything. "They are your children." He looked at Charlotte Bennett, searching her expression for an explanation, for anger, for regret, for anything that could help him understand how 10 years had passed without him knowing. But Charlotte only looked tired, not angry, not seeking revenge, just carrying the weight of a decision she had lived with for a decade. "Why?" Ethan finally asked. His voice was quiet. Why did you never tell me?" Charlotte looked down at Mia and Lucas before answering. She had imagined this conversation many times, during long nights when the twins were asleep, during moments when she wondered whether she had made the right choice. "Because I thought you had already chosen your life," she said. Ethan frowned. "What does that mean?" Charlotte took a slow breath. 10 years ago, your company was growing. You were building something incredible. Every conversation we had was about meetings, investors, and the future. I believed there was no room for us anymore." Ethan shook his head slightly. "That is not true." "Maybe not from your perspective," Charlotte replied softly. "But that was how it felt from mine." The words stayed between them. Ethan had spent years believing Charlotte left because she stopped loving him. He had convinced himself that she wanted a different life. But now he was seeing another possibility. Maybe they had both been hurt by assumptions. Maybe they had both been living with incomplete stories. Mia looked between them with curiosity. "Mom, is he really our dad?" The question broke the silence. Charlotte knelt beside her daughter and smiled gently. "Yes, sweetheart." Ethan felt a wave of emotion he had never experienced in a business meeting, negotiation, or major decision. This was not a problem he could solve with strategy. This was a moment he had missed before he even knew it existed. Lucas stepped closer, studying Ethan carefully. "Do you like superheroes?" Ethan blinked, surprised by the simple question. Then a small smile appeared. "I think I do." Lucas nodded seriously. "Good. Dad should like superheroes." The word stopped Ethan completely. Dad, a word he had never expected to hear. A word he had imagined but never believed would come from these children. Charlotte noticed his reaction. She knew this was not easy for him, but it was not easy for her either. "They know about you," she explained. "I never wanted them to think their father did not care. I just did not know what to tell them." Ethan looked at her. "You talked about me?" Charlotte nodded. "Only the good things." He looked away for a moment. The idea that she had protected his memory instead of destroying it affected him deeply. Later that afternoon, Ethan invited Charlotte and the twins to a quiet private room inside the building. He wanted to ask questions, but he also knew he needed to listen. He learned about their favorite foods, their school activities, the small traditions Charlotte created for them. He learned about birthdays he missed, first days of school he never witnessed, ordinary moments that were priceless because they only happened once. Every detail felt like a piece of a life he never knew existed. "I missed everything," Ethan whispered. Charlotte looked at him carefully. "You did." The honesty surprised him. She did not try to make him feel better. She simply told the truth. "But you are here now." Those words gave him something he had not expected. A beginning. Before leaving, Ethan walked with them to the entrance. He watched Mia and Lucas hold Charlotte's hands as they prepared to leave. 10 years ago, Ethan thought losing Charlotte was the greatest disappointment of his life. Now he realized he had lost something even more important: time. And for the first time in many years, the billionaire CEO who had everything understood there were some things money could never replace. After Charlotte Bennett and the twins left the building, Ethan Williams remained standing in the lobby, long after the elevator doors closed behind them. Employees greeted him as they walked past, but he barely noticed. His assistant reminded him twice that the board meeting was waiting upstairs. Investors from 3 countries had already arrived. Millions of dollars depended on the decisions he was expected to make that afternoon. Yet none of those responsibilities could compete with the single thought repeating inside his mind. "I have 2 children." Ethan slowly returned to his office, but the familiar space suddenly felt unfamiliar. The city skyline stretched across the windows exactly as it had every morning for the past decade, yet it no longer represented achievement. It represented time. 10 years of birthdays he never celebrated. 10 years of bedtime stories he never read. 10 years of memories created without him. He opened the top drawer of his desk and quietly removed the old photograph of Charlotte. It had been taken on a windy afternoon beside Lake Michigan when they were both in their 20s. She was laughing while looking away from the camera, and Ethan remembered believing they would spend the rest of their lives together. He had never thrown the picture away. He simply stopped allowing himself to look at it. Now he stared at it again, wondering how 2 people who loved each other so deeply could lose an entire decade. His phone rang. It was Daniel Brooks, his oldest friend. Ethan answered immediately. "Daniel, I need to ask you something." Daniel noticed the unusual tone in his voice. "What happened?" Ethan hesitated before speaking. "Charlotte came back." Silence filled the line. "Charlotte?" Daniel repeated quietly. "Yes." Ethan closed his eyes. "She has twins." Another pause followed. Then Daniel asked the question Ethan was already asking himself. "Are they yours?" Ethan looked toward the photograph on his desk. "She says they are." Daniel slowly exhaled. "You should listen to everything she has to say before making any assumptions." Ethan nodded, even though his friend could not see him. "I intend to." Meanwhile, Charlotte drove home with Mia and Lucas sitting quietly in the back seat. Neither child fully understood why their mother had become so emotional after leaving the tall office building. Mia looked out the window before speaking softly. "Mom?" Charlotte glanced at her through the rearview mirror. "Yes, sweetheart?" "Was that really our dad?" Charlotte smiled gently despite the tears gathering in her eyes. "Yes." Lucas leaned forward. He looked surprised. Charlotte laughed quietly. "I think anyone would be surprised." Mia held the small bracelet on her wrist thoughtfully. "Do you think he liked us?" Charlotte felt her heart tighten. She had prepared herself for many questions, but that one was different. "I think," she answered carefully, "he is trying to understand everything that happened." The twins accepted the answer and returned to looking out the windows. Charlotte wished children never had to wonder whether they were wanted. That evening, Ethan canceled every remaining meeting on his schedule. His board members were shocked. His assistant had never seen him postpone an investor presentation without extraordinary circumstances. But Ethan understood that no business decision could compare to the discovery he made that day. He sat alone inside his office until sunset filled the room with warm orange light. Every achievement surrounding him suddenly seemed strangely quiet. The awards on the shelves, the framed magazine covers, the contracts worth billions. None of them could return the years he lost. Before leaving, Ethan asked his assistant to find Charlotte's current address. Not because he wanted to argue, not because he wanted explanations immediately. He simply wanted another chance to sit across from the woman he once loved and learn everything about the two children whose lives had quietly grown beyond his reach. Somewhere across the city, Charlotte tucked Mia and Lucas into bed, kissed them goodnight, and closed their bedroom door softly. She stood in the hallway for several moments, wondering if opening the door to the past had been the right decision. She still did not know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in 10 years, the truth no longer belonged to her alone. The following morning, Ethan Williams stood outside a quiet suburban house holding a small paper bag from the neighborhood bakery. It felt almost strange. For years, assistants had arranged every appointment in his calendar. Meetings began exactly on time. Conversations lasted according to schedules. Yet this visit had no script. He was simply a father who had arrived 10 years late, hoping he was not too late to begin. Charlotte Bennett opened the front door before he could knock a second time. She looked surprised to see him standing there so early. "You found us," she said softly. Ethan nodded. "I hope that is all right." She looked at the bag in his hand. "You brought breakfast?" He smiled awkwardly. "I did not know what children usually like, so I asked the woman at the bakery what families bought on Saturday mornings." Charlotte could not help smiling. It was such a small detail, yet it revealed something important. The billionaire CEO who negotiated international contracts had stood inside a neighborhood bakery asking ordinary questions because he genuinely wanted to learn. She stepped aside. "Come in." The house was warm and simple. Family photographs filled the walls. Children's drawings covered one side of the refrigerator. Ethan looked around quietly. Every picture represented a memory he had never shared. Every crayon drawing marked another year that had passed without him. Mia and Lucas hurried into the kitchen wearing comfortable pajamas. Lucas immediately noticed the bakery bag. "Did you bring cinnamon rolls?" Ethan laughed softly. "I was hoping someone here liked them." Lucas grinned. "I do." Mia smiled politely before helping set the table. Ethan watched the two children move naturally around the house. Charlotte built a peaceful life for them. There was laughter, routine, safety. He realized she had carried every responsibility alone without allowing bitterness to shape the home. During breakfast, The twins asked endless questions. What was your favorite subject in school? Did you always wear suits? Do you know how to ride a bicycle? Ethan answered each one honestly. Sometimes he laughed at himself. Sometimes he admitted he did not know the answer. Charlotte watched quietly from across the table. She noticed something she had not expected. Ethan never tried to impress the children. He simply tried to know them. After breakfast, Lucas disappeared into the hallway before returning with a small cardboard box. Want to see my collection? Ethan smiled. I would love to. Inside were carefully arranged baseball cards, polished stones, and tiny souvenirs collected over the years. Lucas proudly explained every item while Ethan listened with complete attention. Meanwhile, Mia showed Charlotte a school essay she had written. My teacher said, we have to write about someone we admire, she explained. Charlotte smiled. Who did you choose? Mia looked toward Ethan for a brief second before answering honestly. You. Charlotte hugged her daughter gently, unaware that Ethan had quietly overheard the conversation. His heart felt unexpectedly heavy. These children had learned strength from their mother because she had been everything they needed when he was absent. Later that afternoon, Ethan and Charlotte sat on the back porch while the twins played in the yard. Autumn leaves drifted across the grass as the children laughed together. Ethan broke the silence first. You raised them beautifully. Charlotte looked toward the yard. I tried. He shook his head gently. You did more than try. She remained quiet. Praise felt unfamiliar after carrying so many years alone. Ethan looked at the children again. Charlotte, I need to know something. She turned toward him. What? The day you left. Did you really believe I would choose my company over you? Charlotte closed her eyes for a brief moment. The question had waited 10 years. I believed you had already chosen. Ethan lowered his head slowly. Somewhere inside the silence between them, both realized the same heartbreaking truth. Neither of them had stopped loving the other. They had simply stopped believing they still belonged in each other's future. The question Charlotte Bennett answered on the porch stayed with Ethan Williams long after he drove away. She believed he had already chosen his company over their future. He believed she had simply disappeared without giving him a chance to explain. Somewhere between those two beliefs, 10 years had quietly vanished. Ethan could not accept that misunderstanding alone had stolen an entire decade. The next morning, he called Daniel Brooks and asked him to come to his office immediately. Daniel arrived carrying the same calm expression he had always worn through every crisis. Ethan wasted no time. I need you to tell me everything you remember from 10 years ago. Daniel looked at him carefully. This is about Charlotte. Ethan nodded. She told me she believed I chose work instead of her. Daniel remained silent for several moments before walking toward the window. There is something I should have told you years ago. Ethan felt his heartbeat quicken. What? Daniel sighed quietly. The week Charlotte left, she came to your office. Ethan stared at him. She was here? Yes, Daniel continued carefully. You were in New York negotiating the merger that eventually built Williams International. Ethan searched his memory. I never knew she came. Daniel nodded slowly. Because she never reached you. Ethan's expression changed immediately. Why? Daniel looked down. Your executive office was handling every visitor. They believed nothing should interrupt those negotiations. Ethan felt a heavy silence settle over the room. Are you telling me someone turned her away? Daniel nodded. She waited for hours. She left a letter. She asked that it be given to you personally. Ethan looked stunned. I never received any letter. Daniel closed his eyes briefly. I found out later that the letter disappeared during the office transition. By the time I learned what happened, Charlotte was already gone. Ethan slowly sat down. His hands rested on the edge of the desk as memories returned. That week had been the busiest period of his career. He barely slept. Every decision carried enormous financial pressure. He remembered believing Charlotte needed space after their last argument. He thought she had chosen to leave. He never imagined she had actually come looking for him. Across town, Charlotte folded children's laundry while Mia and Lucas worked on a school assignment at the dining table. Life had taught her to focus on what she could control. Yet since seeing Ethan again, old memories returned without invitation. She remembered standing in the lobby of his former office 10 years earlier. She remembered holding a sealed envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a letter explaining everything, including the news that she was expecting twins. She remembered asking the receptionist again and again if Ethan could spare only 5 minutes. Every answer had been the same. Mr. Williams is unavailable. By sunset, she finally walked away believing she had received his answer. Her phone rang unexpectedly. Ethan's name appeared on the screen. She hesitated before answering. "Hello." His voice sounded different, quieter. "Charlotte, did you come to my office 10 years ago?" She closed her eyes. The question alone told her something important. "You really never knew." Ethan felt his chest tighten. "I know now." Silence followed. Neither of them spoke because neither of them knew how to measure 10 years of misunderstanding. Finally, Ethan said softly, "I would have left every meeting if I had known you were there." Charlotte smiled sadly. "I believed the meetings mattered more." Ethan lowered his head. "They never mattered more than you." Tears filled Charlotte's eyes, but her voice remained steady. "It is too late to change that day." Ethan answered gently, "Maybe, but it is not too late to understand it." When the call ended, both remained silent in different homes, separated by miles, but connected by the same realization. Neither of them had walked away because love disappeared. They had walked away because truth never reached the person who needed to hear it. And for the first time in 10 years, the missing pieces of their story were finally beginning to fit together. The truth about the missing letter changed everything for Ethan Williams. For 10 years, he believed Charlotte Bennett had walked away because she no longer wanted the life they once imagined together. Now he understood that the story he carried in his heart had never been complete. There had been a moment when Charlotte stood closer than ever to reaching him. And somehow, that moment had disappeared. But discovering the truth did not erase the pain. It only showed him how much had been lost. Ethan spent the next few days trying to understand every part of the life he missed. He looked through old company records. He reviewed archived messages. He searched through memories he had pushed away for years. Each discovery revealed another piece of the same painful reality. While he was building an empire, Charlotte was building a family. Alone. One evening, Ethan visited Charlotte again. This time, he did not arrive as the billionaire CEO. He left the expensive car behind and came simply as Ethan. Charlotte noticed immediately. "You came alone," she said. He nodded. "I thought it was important." She opened the door and allowed him inside. The twins were finishing their homework at the kitchen table. Ethan watched them carefully, amazed by how naturally they filled the room with energy. It was a life he had never seen, a life that had existed without him. Mia looked up from her book. "Are you staying for dinner?" The question caught Ethan by surprise. He looked at Charlotte before answering. "If your mom says it is okay." Charlotte smiled slightly. "Dinner is already being prepared." That small invitation meant more to him than any business achievement he had ever received. During dinner, Ethan listened as Mia and Lucas talked about school, friends, and their favorite activities. He noticed the little details, the way Lucas laughed when he explained a story, the way Mia carefully arranged her plate before eating, the small habits that only someone present every day would know. Ethan realized that fatherhood was not about one dramatic moment. It was about thousands of ordinary moments that slowly created a bond. After the children went to their rooms, Ethan and Charlotte sat quietly in the kitchen. The silence between them was different now. It was no longer filled with anger. It was filled with years of things left unsaid. "I am sorry," Ethan finally said. Charlotte looked at him. "For what?" "For not finding the truth sooner." She looked down at her hands. "You did not know." "But I should have looked harder." His voice became softer. "I should have asked more questions. I should have realized something was wrong." Charlotte remained quiet. She knew Ethan was blaming himself for something neither of them fully understood. "Ethan, we were both younger." She paused. "We both thought we knew what the other person felt." He nodded slowly. "And we were wrong." Outside the window, the evening lights reflected across the quiet neighborhood. For a moment, they were not a CEO and a woman who left 10 years ago. They were simply two people remembering who they used to be. "Do you hate me?" Ethan asked unexpectedly. Charlotte looked surprised. "No." "After everything?" She shook her head. "I was hurt. I was scared. but I never hated you. Those words affected him more than he expected. He had spent years believing he had lost Charlotte because he failed. But now he understood something deeper. They had both been hurt by silence. The next morning, Ethan made another decision. He would not try to fix everything with money or power. He would not force himself into the children's lives because he was their biological father. He would earn their trust slowly. He would be present. When he arrived that afternoon with 2 books he thought the twins might enjoy, Lucas smiled. "You came back." Ethan looked at him and nodded. "Yes, I did." Those simple words carried a promise that for the first time in 10 years, Ethan Williams was choosing something more important than success. He was choosing the family he never knew he had. The days that followed became a lesson Ethan Williams never expected to learn. For most of his life, he believed important things happened in large moments, business decisions, major announcements, career achievements. But now he discovered that the moments that mattered most were often quiet ones. A breakfast shared at a kitchen table, a conversation before bedtime, a child's smile when someone simply showed up. Ethan began visiting Charlotte and the twins regularly. He arrived without a team of assistants, without business calls interrupting the afternoon, without the need to be seen as anyone important. He came as Ethan. Mia and Lucas slowly became more comfortable around him. At first, they asked careful questions. They watched his reactions. They tried to understand the man who had suddenly appeared in their lives. Ethan never rushed them. He knew trust was not something he could demand. It was something he had to earn. One Saturday morning, Charlotte watched from the kitchen window as Ethan helped Lucas repair a small toy airplane. The billionaire CEO, who once managed thousands of employees, was sitting on the floor, carefully following instructions from a 10-year-old boy. Lucas explained every step with complete confidence, while Ethan listened seriously. Charlotte smiled quietly. "You know," she said when he came inside, "I never thought I would see this." Ethan looked at the toy airplane in his hand. "Neither did I." She laughed softly. "You seem different." Ethan thought about the statement. "Maybe I finally understand what I was missing." Charlotte looked away for a moment. Those words were difficult because they carried both hope and sadness. Ethan was changing, but the years they lost were still real. Later that afternoon, Ethan took Mia and Lucas to a small science museum. He had expected them to be impressed by the exhibits, but instead he found himself impressed by them. Mia carefully read every information board before asking thoughtful questions. Lucas became fascinated by a simple experiment showing how things worked. Ethan watched them with a feeling he could not describe. He had attended countless events filled with important people. He had stood on stages in front of thousands. Yet nothing compared to hearing a child excitedly explain something they discovered. On the drive home, Lucas looked through the window before asking, "Were you always this busy?" Ethan glanced at him through the mirror. "Probably too busy?" Lucas nodded slowly. "Did you miss things?" The question was innocent, but Ethan felt its weight. He answered honestly, "Yes, I missed things I wish I had seen." Lucas looked thoughtful. "But you are here now." Ethan smiled softly. "Yes, I am." That evening, Charlotte and Ethan sat outside after the twins went to sleep. The neighborhood was quiet, the kind of quiet Ethan rarely experienced in his world of meetings and constant decisions. "They are forgiving you quickly," Charlotte said. Ethan looked toward the house. "Children are better at that than adults." Charlotte smiled. "Maybe." A gentle silence followed. Then Ethan asked, "Did you ever tell them about me?" Charlotte nodded. "I told them their father was someone who worked hard and cared about people." Ethan looked surprised. "Even after everything?" She looked at him. "I was hurt, Ethan, but I never wanted them to grow up believing they were unwanted." Those words stayed with him. She had protected his place in their lives even when he was not there. She had carried the pain, but refused to turn it into anger. The next week, Ethan made another decision. He reduced his travel schedule. He moved important meetings when possible. His business partners noticed the change. Some questioned whether he was becoming less focused. Ethan simply smiled. For years, he had built a company that reached across the world. Now he wanted to build something that reached the people closest to him. One evening, Mia handed Ethan a small drawing before leaving for home. It showed 4 figures standing together under a bright sun. "Who are these?" Ethan asked. Mia smiled. Our family. Ethan looked at the picture for a long moment. It was simple. It was imperfect. But to him, it was more valuable than anything he had ever owned. Because after 10 years of missing the beginning, Ethan Williams was finally learning how to be present for the story that was still being written. As Ethan Williams continued spending time with Charlotte and the twins, he slowly discovered that rebuilding a family was not about correcting the past. It was about creating trust in the present. Every visit gave him another glimpse into the life he had missed. Every conversation showed him how much Charlotte had carried alone. One afternoon, Ethan arrived at Charlotte's home carrying a small package. Mia and Lucas immediately became curious. "What is it?" Lucas asked. Ethan smiled. "Something I thought you might enjoy." Inside were 2 simple science kits. Nothing expensive, nothing designed to impress, just something he remembered Lucas mentioning during their museum visit and something Mia had said she wanted to try for her school project. The twins smiled with excitement. Charlotte watched quietly. She noticed the difference between the Ethan she knew 10 years ago and the man standing in her home now. The old Ethan was always searching for the next achievement. This Ethan was paying attention to small details. "You remembered," Mia said. Ethan nodded. "Of course I did." The words were simple, but they carried meaning. Charlotte understood that remembering was something he had not been able to do before. Not because he did not care, but because he never knew what he had been missing. Later that evening, Ethan helped the twins build their projects at the kitchen table. He followed their instructions carefully, even when they corrected him. Lucas laughed when Ethan placed a piece in the wrong position. "You are supposed to read the instructions first." Ethan smiled. "I am used to people giving me instructions at work." Lucas looked curious. "Do people listen to you there?" Ethan laughed softly. "Usually. But you listen to us." Ethan paused for a moment. The observation from a 10-year-old child touched him deeply. "Yes," he answered, "because you are important." Charlotte heard those words from the other side of the room. She realized Ethan was not trying to prove he deserved a place in their lives. He was showing it through every action. The next week, Ethan invited Charlotte and the twins to visit his company. He wanted them to understand the world he had built, but more importantly, he wanted them to see that the company was not his entire identity. When they arrived at Williams International, employees greeted Ethan respectfully. But the twins noticed something else. People smiled when he stopped to ask about their families. He remembered names. He thanked people personally. Mia looked up at him. "Everyone knows you." Ethan smiled. "Maybe." She thought for a moment. "But do they know you?" The question surprised him. It was the kind of question only a child would ask. Ethan looked around the office filled with people who knew his title, his reputation, and his success. But how many truly knew him? That evening, Ethan and Charlotte talked after the twins went to sleep. "They are changing you," Charlotte said. Ethan smiled. "They are reminding me who I was supposed to be." Charlotte looked at him carefully. "You know this will not be easy." He nodded. "I know. There will be questions. There will be things we have to work through." "I know." She studied his face. "And you still want to do this?" Ethan looked toward the hallway where the children's rooms were located. "More than anything." The following morning, Ethan made a decision that surprised his entire company. He canceled several unnecessary international trips and adjusted his schedule to spend more time at home. His advisors worried about the impact on business. Ethan understood their concerns, but his priorities had changed. For years, he believed being a great CEO meant being available everywhere. Now he understood that being a great father meant being present somewhere. Meanwhile, Charlotte watched the changes carefully. She did not immediately forget the years of uncertainty. She did not suddenly erase the pain of raising 2 children alone. But she saw something she had not seen before. Ethan was not asking for forgiveness because he wanted relief from guilt. He was asking for a chance because he wanted responsibility. And slowly, one ordinary moment at a time, the man who once lost 10 years was beginning to earn his place in the next chapter. The more time Ethan Williams spent with Charlotte and the twins, the more he understood that becoming a father was not about claiming a place in their lives. It was about earning one. Every day brought a new lesson. Every conversation revealed another piece of the family he never knew he had. One afternoon, Ethan joined Mia and Lucas at their school event. He arrived early and sat quietly among the other parents. There were no cameras, no business partners, no reason for anyone to know who he was. For once, Ethan was not the CEO of Williams International. He was simply a father waiting to watch his children. When Mia walked onto the stage for her presentation, Ethan felt something he had not expected. Pride. A simple, powerful feeling that no award, contract, or business achievement had ever created. He listened as she spoke about a science project she had worked on for weeks. Her confidence came from the support she received every day at home, the kind of support Charlotte had provided alone for 10 years. After the event, Lucas ran toward him holding a small paper certificate. "I got one too." Ethan smiled and looked at the certificate carefully. "I am proud of you," Lucas smiled. "You came to see me." The sentence was simple, but Ethan understood its meaning. Presence mattered. Showing up mattered. He had spent years building a company that reached millions of people, but now he was learning the importance of being there for a few people who mattered most. Later that evening, Charlotte and Ethan sat together while the twins played in the backyard. The sunset painted the sky with soft colors, creating a quiet moment neither of them wanted to interrupt. "They really like you," Charlotte said. Ethan smiled. "I like them too." She looked toward the children. "You know, I was afraid of this moment." Ethan turned toward her. "Why?" Charlotte took a slow breath. "Because I did not know what would happen when they met you. I did not know if you would want them. I did not know if they would feel rejected." Ethan looked at her with surprise. "Charlotte, they could never be rejected." She nodded slowly. "I know that now." Her voice softened. "But 10 years ago, I did not know." Ethan looked down. He understood the fear behind her decision. She had not left because she wanted to punish him. She left because she believed she was protecting her children from a life of uncertainty. The next day, Ethan invited Charlotte to his office for a private conversation. He wanted to discuss the future carefully, not with legal documents, not with business plans, with honesty. "I want to be involved in every part of their lives," Ethan said. Charlotte listened quietly. "School, important moments, ordinary days, everything." She looked at him. "And what about your company?" Ethan smiled slightly. "For years, I thought my company was the most important thing I had built." He paused. "I was wrong." Charlotte remained silent. "The most important thing I can build is trust with them." Those words stayed with her. She had spent years wondering if Ethan would ever understand what he missed. Now he finally did. But she also knew trust required time. That evening, Ethan returned to his office after everyone had left. The building was quiet. The same office where he once spent countless nights chasing success now felt different. On his desk sat the small drawing Mia had given him, 4 figures beneath a bright sun. He looked at it for a long time. Years earlier, he believed losing Charlotte was the hardest thing he had experienced. Now he realized the hardest part was accepting that time could not be recovered. But maybe the future did not require recovering everything lost. Maybe it only required appreciating what remained. The following weekend, Ethan joined Charlotte and the twins for a simple family day at a local park. They ate lunch on a picnic blanket. They laughed. They talked about ordinary things. Nothing about the moment appeared extraordinary to anyone watching. But to Ethan, it was everything. Because for the first time in 10 years, he was no longer standing outside the life he wanted. He was finally inside it. The changes in Ethan Williams became impossible for the people around him to ignore. The same man who once filled every hour with meetings and negotiations was now making decisions based on something far more personal. He still led Williams International with the same determination, but his priorities had shifted. For the first time, Ethan understood that being successful in one area of life did not mean he had succeeded in every area. One evening, Ethan invited Charlotte and the twins to a small dinner at his home. It was not the kind of event his company usually organized. There were no executives, no formal arrangements, no guests trying to impress one another. It was simply a quiet evening together. Mia helped prepare the table while Lucas showed Ethan a new drawing he created at school. "I made this for you," Lucas said proudly. Ethan looked at the paper carefully. It showed 4 people standing beside a house with a bright sun above them. "This is amazing," Ethan said. Lucas smiled. Mom said families can look different. Ethan looked toward Charlotte. She smiled gently. I wanted them to understand that love is not only about how people start, it is about how they choose to be there. Those words stayed with Ethan. He knew he could never recover the years he missed, but he also knew the future was still something they could create. Later that night, after the twins went to sleep, Ethan and Charlotte sat outside on the balcony. The city lights stretched across the distance, but the moment felt peaceful. I used to think providing meant giving people everything they needed, Ethan said. Charlotte looked at him. And now? He smiled softly. Now I think sometimes people need you more than they need what you can give them. Charlotte looked away for a moment. She had spent 10 years learning how to stand alone. Trusting someone again was not simple, but she could see the difference between the man who left her life and the man sitting beside her now. The old Ethan was focused on reaching the next goal. The new Ethan was focused on protecting what mattered. The following week, Ethan brought Charlotte and the twins to a family event organized by Williams International. It was the first time many employees saw this personal side of their CEO. Some were surprised. They knew Ethan as a powerful businessman, but they had never seen him laugh so naturally or listen so carefully. An employee approached him afterward. I have never seen you like this before. Ethan smiled. Neither have I. The employee laughed. That is a good thing. Ethan nodded. He agreed. Because for years, he had been searching for success without realizing something important was missing. Meanwhile, Charlotte continued watching his actions carefully. She appreciated the effort, but she also understood that rebuilding a family required more than a few good days. It required consistency. One afternoon, Ethan arrived late to pick up the twins because of an unexpected business issue. He apologized immediately. I'm sorry, I should have called sooner. Charlotte looked at him. The old Ethan might have explained why the meeting mattered. The new Ethan simply apologized. That small difference meant more than he realized. Thank you for acknowledging it, Charlotte said. Ethan nodded. I am learning. Later, he sat with the twins and explained why he was late. He did not make excuses. He treated them with honesty and respect. That evening, Charlotte watched from the doorway as Ethan read a bedtime story to Mia and Lucas. His voice was calm. His attention was complete. The billionaire who could influence markets around the world was sitting in a child's room reading about a magical adventure. And somehow, that moment felt more valuable than anything else he had achieved. After the children fell asleep, Ethan returned to the living room where Charlotte was waiting. You are really trying, she said quietly. Ethan nodded. I am. She looked at him. Why? He thought for a moment before answering. Because I spent 10 years believing I lost the woman I loved. Then I found out I also lost the beginning of my children's lives. I cannot change the past, but I can make sure I do not lose the future. Charlotte remained silent. Those words did not erase everything. They did not fix every wound, but they showed something she had been waiting to see. Ethan was no longer asking for a place in their lives. He was building one. As time passed, the bond between Ethan Williams and the twins grew stronger through moments that seemed ordinary to everyone else. To Ethan, they were priceless. He no longer measured his days by meetings completed or deals signed. He measured them by the small memories he was finally able to create. A morning walk before school, helping Lucas finish a project, listening to Mia explain her latest book. These were moments he once believed he had lost forever. One Saturday morning, Charlotte watched Ethan prepare breakfast with the twins in the kitchen. He carefully followed Lucas's instructions while Mia arranged plates on the table. The scene felt natural, almost as if it had always belonged there. But Charlotte knew the truth. This was something built slowly, one day at a time. You are getting good at this, she said with a smile. Ethan looked up. At making pancakes? She laughed softly. At being here. Ethan became quiet for a moment. I should have been here sooner. Charlotte noticed the sadness in his voice. She understood that regret was part of his journey, but she did not want him trapped in it. Ethan, the past matters, but it cannot be the only thing you see. He nodded slowly. I know. She looked toward the children laughing at the table. They need the father you can be now. Those words gave Ethan something he had been searching for. Not forgiveness for everything that happened, not a way to erase 10 years, a reason to keep moving forward. Later that month, Ethan invited Charlotte and the twins to a small family gathering at his parents' home. It was the first time they entered a larger part of his personal world. Ethan's parents were surprised when they learned about the grandchildren they never knew existed. There were many emotions: surprise, sadness for the lost years. But most importantly, there was warmth. Ethan's mother held Mia's hand and smiled. "I wish we had known sooner." Charlotte looked down gently. "So do I." Ethan watched the conversation quietly. He realized Charlotte had spent 10 years protecting not only the children, but also the connection they might one day have with his family. She had never tried to erase his existence. She had simply waited until the truth could be handled with care. During dinner, Lucas asked Ethan's father about old family stories. Everyone laughed as they shared memories from years before. Ethan sat back and watched the room. For so long, he believed success meant creating something impressive enough for the world to notice. Now he understood the value of a table filled with people who cared about each other. After dinner, Ethan and Charlotte stood outside together for a few minutes. The evening air was cool, and the house behind them was filled with quiet conversation. "Thank you," Ethan said. Charlotte looked at him. "For what?" "For not teaching them to hate me." Her expression softened. "I never wanted them to hate you." Ethan looked away. "Even when you thought I chose everything else over you?" Charlotte nodded. "Even then." The answer stayed with him. She had carried disappointment without turning it into anger. That was one of the reasons he admired her so deeply. The following week, Ethan faced an important decision at Williams International. A major international expansion required months of travel and constant attention. In the past, he would have accepted immediately. It was exactly the kind of opportunity he once chased. But this time, he paused. He reviewed the schedule. He considered the time away. Then he made a different choice. He assigned part of the project to his leadership team and remained closer to home. His executives were surprised. "Are you sure?" one asked. Ethan smiled. "Yes. This project is important," Ethan nodded. "Ethan, no, but so is my family." It was a simple sentence, but it represented the biggest change in his life. The billionaire CEO who once believed everything could wait had finally learned that some moments only happen once. That evening, Ethan sat with Charlotte and the twins during a quiet family movie night. Mia leaned against his shoulder while Lucas laughed at his favorite scene. Ethan looked around the room and felt something he had searched for through years of success: peace. And for the first time, he understood that the greatest achievement of his life was not building an empire. It was finally becoming someone his family could count on. The years Ethan Williams once feared losing had slowly become the years he valued the most. What began with a shocking return and a truth hidden for a decade had transformed into something neither Ethan nor Charlotte expected. They were no longer trying to understand the past alone. They were learning how to build a future together. Ethan continued showing up for Mia and Lucas in every way that mattered. He attended school events. He remembered important dates. He learned the small details that made his children unique. Mia loved drawing stories in colorful notebooks. Lucas enjoyed building models and explaining how everything worked. Ethan remembered every detail because he finally understood that love was often found in ordinary moments. One evening, the family gathered at Charlotte's home for dinner. It was a simple evening with homemade food and quiet conversations. Ethan looked around the table and realized how different his life had become. Years earlier, he had sat alone in a luxury apartment surrounded by achievements. Now he sat in a modest home surrounded by laughter. And somehow, this felt like the success he had always been searching for. After dinner, Mia brought out an old box filled with childhood memories. Inside were photographs, drawings, and small keepsakes from the years Ethan had missed. She showed him pictures from school events, family trips, and birthdays. Ethan looked at every image carefully. "I wish I had been there," he said quietly. Charlotte watched him. "I know." There was no anger in her voice anymore, only honesty. Ethan touched one of the photographs gently. "I cannot get these moments back." Charlotte nodded. "No, you cannot." He looked at her. "But I want to be there for everything that comes next." Those words carried more meaning than any promise he had made in his career. Because this time, Ethan was not promising success. He was promising presence. Later that week, Ethan and Charlotte had a conversation they had avoided for years. They sat together in the quiet living room after the twins went to sleep. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if we had talked sooner?" Ethan asked. Charlotte smiled sadly. "All the time." "Would things have been different?" She thought carefully before answering. "Maybe, but we cannot live in that question forever." Ethan looked at her. She continued, "The people we became were shaped by what happened. The important thing is what we choose now." He nodded. For the first time, he understood that healing was not about pretending the past never happened. It was about accepting it and choosing not to let it control the future. The following month, Williams International announced a new family-focused initiative designed to support employees balancing careers and personal lives. Many people believed it was a business decision. Only a few knew the real reason behind it. Ethan had learned firsthand that success meant little if the people you loved never experienced your presence. During the announcement, Ethan spoke honestly to his employees. "For years, I believed commitment meant giving everything to my work. I was wrong. Commitment means knowing what deserves your time." Charlotte watched the speech from the audience with Mia and Lucas beside her. She saw the man Ethan had become. Not a perfect man, not someone who could erase every mistake, but someone who learned from them. After the event, Lucas ran toward Ethan, holding a small certificate from school. "Look what I got." Ethan smiled proudly. "I knew you could do it." Lucas looked up at him. "You will come to my next one too, right?" Ethan immediately answered, "Yes, I will." The certainty in his voice mattered. It was not a promise made for the future. It was a choice made in the present. That evening, Charlotte stood outside with Ethan as the children played nearby. "They trust you now," she said. Ethan looked toward them with a smile. "I am grateful." She nodded. "You earned it." The words meant more than Ethan expected. Because after everything they had lost, he knew trust was the most valuable thing he could receive. 10 years ago, he lost a woman he loved because two people failed to find the truth. Now, after years of silence, he had found something even greater. A family that gave him the chance to become the person he was always meant to be. Years later, Ethan Williams still remembered the day Charlotte Bennett walked into his life again. A decade of silence had ended with two children holding their mother's hands and a truth that changed everything. But the most important part of their story was not the years they lost. It was the choice they made with the years they still had. Mia and Lucas grew up knowing one simple truth. They were loved, not because everything had been perfect, not because their family had never faced challenges. They were loved because the people around them chose to show up every day. Ethan never forgot that lesson. He continued leading Williams International, but his definition of success had completely changed. He still built companies. He still made important decisions, but he no longer allowed achievements to replace the moments that mattered most. One summer evening, the family gathered at a small lakeside park where Ethan and Charlotte once shared memories before everything changed. The children played near the water while Ethan and Charlotte sat together watching them. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Ethan asked. Charlotte smiled softly. "Sometimes." He looked toward Mia and Lucas. "I used to think losing 10 years meant losing everything." Charlotte looked at him. "And now?" Ethan smiled. "Now I think those years taught us how valuable every moment really is." They sat quietly for a while. There was no need to fill the silence. After everything they had experienced, they understood each other in a way words could not explain. Ethan knew Charlotte had carried a burden for years. She had protected their children, built a home, and continued moving forward even when she felt alone. Charlotte knew Ethan had changed, not because he wanted to prove something, not because he feared losing them again. He changed because he finally understood what mattered. That evening, Mia brought Ethan a small notebook filled with drawings and stories she had written. "I made this for you." Ethan opened the first page and saw pictures of their family. There were drawings of their home, their favorite places, and moments they shared together. At the bottom of one page, Mia had written, "The best things happen when people come back." Ethan became quiet as he read the words. Charlotte noticed the emotion in his expression and smiled gently. 10 years earlier, Ethan had built an empire because he wanted to create a secure future. Now he realized the greatest future was not something he could purchase or control. It was something he built through love, patience, and presence. A few months later, Williams International celebrated another successful year. During the company event, Ethan stood on stage in front of hundreds of employees. Everyone expected him to discuss growth, achievements, and future plans. Instead, he spoke about something different. For a long time, I believed success meant reaching a place where nothing could be taken away from me, he said. But life taught me something important. The things that truly matter are not things we own. They are the people we choose to love and the moments we choose to protect. Charlotte watched from the audience with Mia and Lucas beside her. She remembered the woman she was 10 years earlier, the woman who left carrying fear, uncertainty, and a secret. She remembered wondering if she had made the right choice. Looking at Ethan now, she knew the answer was more complicated than yes or no. Life had not given them a perfect path. It had given them another chance. After the event, Ethan walked outside with his family. The city lights surrounded them, but the moment felt peaceful. Lucas held Ethan's hand while Mia walked beside Charlotte. A stranger looking at them would never know the story behind that simple scene. They would not know about the years apart, the misunderstandings, the missed memories. They would only see a family walking together, and maybe that was the most beautiful part. Because some stories are not defined by how they begin. They are defined by the courage people find to continue. Ethan once believed his greatest achievement was building a billion-dollar company. But years later, he understood the truth. The greatest thing he ever built was not an empire. It was a home. A home created from forgiveness. A home strengthened by patience. A home that proved some people can leave your life for years and still return carrying the missing pieces of your heart.